Alrighty, hello everybody. So I went on ahead and massively put up the blur in the background because it's a mess back there, and this video is too important for me to be caught up in these small little matters. So we're gonna pretend collectively, because I haven't figured out how to do this yet, that I've got like a whole field of stars behind me. No, you saw it. You saw nothing. We've seen nothing today. Yeah, it's the middle of cleaning and etc. etc. So anyway, that happened. Oh no, you've seen nothing, nothing. Okay. So what I wanted to talk about was magical defense as I understand it. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I've had a few different clients over the years that have been plagued by really, really nasty magical stuff that's happened. And I needed to put this information in a form that was accessible. Does that make sense? And so I'm not going to go into depth or try not to go into depth because I want this to be succinct and I need it to be understandable. So there's two components that we deal with when it comes to, there's my cat. There are two components that pop up when it comes to magical defense or magical protections. And so there's the other person and then there's yourself. And so when you learn spiritual arts, when you learn magical arts, it's important to figure out how to have a steel will power. And a steel willpower is basically solidifying yourself into just this wall, and there's no room or give to it. There's no negotiation with it. And so, this is an important technique to learn as an individual and to practice for yourself daily until it just becomes a habit. Because unless you figured out how to still your willpower, how to steal your willpower, it's porous or malleable and your energy is penetrable. Okay, so that's the first problem. The second problem is when you are under abuse from someone's magical efforts, they both stain you with their malicious intent, which is why cleansing is important. And they also make you more vulnerable to further attacks until you figure out how to steel yourself against this individual or just against attacks in general. And so when it's this vulnerability, it pretty much, and I don't know if you caught, I said abuse. And that is what it is. This is a form of abuse. This is somebody lashing out at another person for whatever reason. And there becomes this connection where you have somebody that has power and you have somebody that falls under that person's power. So your energy, your spiritual field is going to be informed by your belief about yourself and the inability to create this steel wall, right? Or this steel willpower means that you can be moved all around the place, right? Additionally, there are psychological components that when you're attacked by somebody and you see an effect, especially if it's a really ugly attack, and you see the effect on it, you become afraid of this person. You fear this person. And so repeated attacks, repeated agitations kind of unwind you. Um, Mentally, emotionally, spiritually, magically, energetically, just like all of the things, right? And so it's important as you're faced with these sorts of situations to learn how to reclaim your power in the situation. Because returning to my original example, you've got yourself and then you have the attacker, right? And so there's this relationship, this power dynamic between you and the abuser. And so it pretty much becomes a thing where you can become so unraveled by the influx that any sort of indication that something could be up could give you the equivalent to a energetic panic attack, and you will sometimes even generate symptoms in response to the belief that something is coming into you. Whether it is or isn't the point here that I'm trying to make. What I'm trying to make is your own personal self is in a position where it can be very easily violated. And as you unwind because of the attacks, you become more vulnerable. And then you sort of almost start attacking yourself. And the other person does not need to lift a finger. Or if the person lifts a finger, they don't have to do much to trigger this cascade of responses in your own energy. Almost done. No, you saw it again. Everything's been for nothing. Um, yeah, like, anyway, anyway, not getting distracted. So, this cascade is something that I'm seeing happen, and there's not an easy way to explain it to people. I can't turn around and say, no, 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 you aren't being attacked, or you're doing this to yourself, because that's both not true and kind of true. And at the end of the day, it's important to understand your place, your power, your position, your dynamic. Um, a lot of magic is acknowledging your power. And if you are in a situation where there's a magical connection or relationship between you and another person, and that connection is continually being fed with fear and anxiety and anticipation, then it's opening up a situation in which you can be further abused. And the abuse will get worse and worse and worse. And I hope that makes sense. So it's like this is something that also pops up with spirits. This is something that pops up with attachments. This is something that pops up all over the place. And it's pretty much all centered on yourself, your belief about yourself, your belief about your capabilities, your confidence, and your willingness to allow yourself to be vulnerable, if that makes sense. It's like, it's really hard to describe. And I do apologize if I'm coming across this in any way that seems insensitive. Because there can absolutely be magical things that are happening that are very under the radar, and you may not realize what's going on, and that's something as well. But if there's magical attacks and you're very aware that there's an effort being made on you, then this whole dynamic comes into play. For secret attacks, that's something that you have to be more discerning about, and you have to be looking through your energy and being aware that there are patterns. When there's things that are going on that are nefarious or secretive, there are always patterns that point that something is up. And so for us, spiritual folk and magical folk, this is something we learn how to look out for. Unfortunately, you have people that get involved in these things, they go too far, they get involved with the wrong person, or they just piss someone off for no fucking reason at all. Um, but they become a target. And as that happens, they become vulnerable, they get dragged into this world where they are not prepared and they become victims. And so, unfortunately, it's very comparable to a domestic abusive relationship. It's like you can try to fight the abuser, But if you're not handling your own stuff, you are not going to be able to take this person on, right? At the same time, it's like move away and shut that influence off. Okay, there are zero circumstances in which you are not able to get a separation between you and another person somehow when it comes to magical abuses. The more you feed into that connection, the more you fuel that dynamic between you and this other person, the worse that's going to get. And then you start picking up on other stuff. And then you get feeders and things get really ugly. So learn how to steal your willpower, learn how to claim your power, and do not pussyfoot around when it comes to your ability to secure yourself. At the end of the day, as somebody who is capable of protecting some people to a degree, um, you are the center of that. And if you, as somebody who is the victim of an attack, does not have the solid, secure, pretty much psyche the way that it needs to be, it's not going to matter what everybody else does for you. It's like there's still going to be vulnerabilities. And it's not like physical things. The logic here is not like physical things. For physical things, it's like I could step in front or between two people, you know? But then at the same time, it's like there's other ways that harassment can happen. There can be phone calls, there can be messages, there can be all kinds of things that one person can harass another person. And it's like I can't be present in all of those different situations as somebody who has fallen into a guardianship or protection type role. And for those instances, it's like the other person has to be able to handle those sorts of contexts going on. If they aren't able to handle it, I mean, the only option is to completely remove themselves from the spiritual, from the magical, and shut everything down. Because that's the only way is to shut down that field, to shut down that dynamic. Um, and this is how I understand it so far. So hopefully it's helpful. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna see if it's good or not. Um, and I'll update this later as I come into more and better understandings. But that is what I have for now. Thank you.